This is it.
And we're live.
We are totally live.
Cool.
All right. So you gonna share it?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Okay. Dude, I just got a friend request. And the notification. You know it's official.
Right.
All right.
It's actually on air.
First time I actually did this, I got the notification. It was delayed by like 40 minutes for some reason. And I felt so official. I celebrated. I still have the screenshot up. And it's not a big deal at all, but I'm just like,
it's a big deal
this
to
is
you, man.
me. Yeah, I'm doing things.
Right. It's working.
Jade is on. That's our first viewer. Thank you, Jade. I'll wait till you're
I got it all.
before. Awesome. Do you like how you look in the camera? Do you want it facing more towards you? It's focusing a little too much on me.
It's whatever. It's all
Okay.
good.
All right. This is it. Well, Jake, welcome to this is the formal part.
Yep.
You're a DJ.
Correct.
Yeah. And just music guy in general. And I've always wanted to start this off. I said this last night, but I'm going to say it anyway. 10 years ago, it has been almost 10 years. In 10 years, I started working at A&W.
Yep.
And I met a guy named Dave Shell.
Yeah.
Remember him?
For sure.
And he started telling me about this music that he listened to called hardcore music. And when I listened to it, this sucks.
Right.
I'm not joking. I really hated it.
Really?
Because I thought, breakdowns. Yeah, the word breakdown is Latin for this is where the solo and the talent is supposed to go. I remember saying that to a lot of guys that like that, and they're just like, really?
Right.
So, like, he starts, like, showing me all these bands, like Silverstein. I love Silverstein now, but back then I'm like, I hate this shit.
Hell yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so, like, what's the big fucking deal about this music? He goes, what if I showed you it live? I'm like, sure. Is it free? He goes, yes, you can just walk in. I'm like, okay, we're going to go see my buddy's band. Tangled in Clockwork.
Yep.
It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's a cool name. I didn't want to admit it.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I remember going in there. It was at Margell's. Either the Margell's or Community Church.
Yeah, we played there all the time.
Yep.
Both those places. Yep.
And I remember I saw you first.
Did you?
Yes, I remember you very vividly. Really short, I think maybe blonde hair, no beard.
Yeah.
You may have one.
Yeah,
we were
young.
We were like 16, 17.
Right.
And I remember like really digging it. Nate Chapin was your
Ethan King was.
Okay.
So Ethan and then Steven, who I've actually reconnected with, him and I always had really good, writing chemistry. And so we just worked on a track pretty recently. But no, all 4 years of high school, I was in Tangle and Clark, and I had picked up the bass and learned the bass just for that band. They were in a band previously to that and so we kind of morphed into Tangled and Clockwork. We got the name from kind of Clockwork Orange, but then also being Tangled in Time and all this shit.
You got Orange?
Not necessarily, but yeah, it was definitely an influence, and a movie that those dudes really like. I did too. I played bass and sang. It's kind of one of those things where I was picking up on music and where I wanted to be. Actually, my first concert was to see Seosin. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I remember Seosin.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went down to House of Blues with my friend Steven and JB, and we got to see, Seosin when we were like 14 or 15. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So we started writing, we started playing shows. Most of the shows actually at Community Church. That was my family's church. And so I was pretty tight there. And I was a big driving factor in making those shows happen there. So I did 4 years. And then I don't know if you remember the band What Lies Ahead. I was in that band after.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so I was a senior at that time, and they were all freshmen. So just a bunch of younger dudes. They asked me to come in and sit in one of their practices, and they're like, do you want to do vocals? And I was like, that'd be awesome. So we just kind of screwed around with it and was just seeing where it was going. And, I was helping them write, and then sooner or later it's like, this is fun, I enjoy doing this. So I was kind of doing both at the same time. Tango and Clockwork, you know, we all went our own ways for school after high school, and we knew that was kind of so kind of dissolved at that point. I continue with what I had for a little bit. It was cool being frontman keys, and you know, like one of the coolest shows, or especially with them, we had written an intro that was like had a lot of strings and this like marching, and then we put on the visuals. Do you remember from Lord of the Rings?
Yes, where Gandalf charges the orcs at Helm's Deep.
Yep, and when they hit, we went into a breakdown. It was like perfect. It worked out great, and it's like, you know, like 200 kids there at that time, and a bunch of them throwing down. It's like really cool community people. You know, it's like heavy music, and people assume they're like angry kids. It's like quite the opposite. You know, these are like really down to earth. They just like to, you know, get into this crazy music.
That's the one thing that I noticed. A lot of things there, like the vibe of it. Like the word vibe wasn't even, or then it wasn't right now for the electronic music scene. And I just wanted to say, like, I've never told you this,
right?
Because I didn't really think about it back then, but like seeing you guys play and being like, I'm like, Dave, you were right. This music's really fun. And they're 2 years younger than me. Then they're doing shit like this. And I'm like, this is insane. I was 17. I started learning guitar because I saw your band.
Holy shit.
Okay. I know cool. I haven't played in a while. I'm not like super awesome at it. I fuck around a lot, but I've been playing for about 10 years now, a little over 10. And I remember I'm like, I want to do that.
Right.
And I want to learn. I started learning like mostly classic rock on it because like that's just what I like more. But every now and then, but every now and then I would tune it down and I would fucking play breakdowns and shit. There's something that does for you that you can't get by playing like, you know, fucking chords. Like there's something about just that heavy shit. Like, it's like got this bad reputation of like, oh, easier. It kind of is, but it hits a different fucking part of your heart.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, I started learning guitar because of I saw your last show at Community. I remember seeing not the PowerPoint, but the graphic of Gandalf coming on and doing that. And I remember, like, I was sad. And I only saw you guys a couple of times, but I was sad. And I remember being on the mic and saying, I want to thank everybody. And I just want to thank God for all that happened. Like, me as, like, coming from you got a bunch of kids just throwing fucking down and being animals. And then at the end of the day, like, to hear something like that, it's nice.
Yeah, for sure. We always try to spread, you know, a positive message. And I think especially in metal, there's kind of this dark and this light, and there's really no in between. You know, there's this just evil, like, you know, almost Satan worshiping and just like tear your throat out and just like, you know, spit in it type of shit. And then there's like, you know, we do this for God. And that's kind of, we jumped on that bandwagon, if you will. You know, like Underoath was doing it, Devil Wears Prada was doing it, August Burns Red. You know, there were these Christian metal bands, and we wanted to do that. We wanted to spread a good message, but we wanted to be really real about it too. You know, so a lot of the lyrics that we talk about were, you know, a little bit more raw and shit like that.
You talk the talk and you walk the walk.
Yeah, and it's cool. You know, it's like reaching out to people and letting them know if they need somebody to talk to or whatever. Like. There.
Yeah.
And you know, that was prior to my college years and kind of looking into other philosophies and looking into the world and whatnot. You know, I'm not going to say whether or not, you know, I'm a Z, but you know, it opened my eyes a lot during that time in my life. But yeah, it's a cool time just to talk and scene. And it's even similar with electronic music too. You know, I'd try to do that same thing. You know, you said good vibes, and it's like I tried to balance the real rawness of like the darkness, you know. So there's something to be relatable and, you know, a breakdown and something that's heavy and shadeable, and like that uplifting vibe of like, you know, there is hope, there is a light, you know. So definitely what my objective is as an artist, you know, whether it's DJing or producing and getting kind of more into the electronic side of things, is to find the happy medium of that light and darkness.
Yeah, you sound like you're busting stereotypes of like you sound like you were doing that back then.
Mm-hmm.
You were showing that there was a light side to this heavy, dark, gruesome fucking, like, whenever you would go play the fucking breakdowns and the fucking hands thing,
right?
Like, I remember doing that, how much fun that was. And
hell yeah.
I'm like, it was this evil, like, when I first saw it, I didn't like it. I'm like, this is evil fucking music. And like, as I started doing it more, we can get into that in a little bit. I just like just closing out the whole thing with, like, when I first met you, like 10 years ago. That's crazy. Right. We are old. I just wanted to say, like, I always knew you were musically, like, inclined, I want to say, but, like, I thought, as I do with everything I say, in the shower, and I come up with, yes, it is. Yeah. I come up with all the cool shit I want to say on these things in the shower. Right. It's true. And I want to say how awesome it was to see you go from this kid being up on stage and doing your thing on the hardcore scene in this town. And then you moved right to Milwaukee.
Yep. I was going to school down there.
Yep. And then to see you go from the bands that you were in as a kid, becoming an adult, to this now, it's such a difference in genre. But to see you go successfully from one of, like, if I mention Tangled and Clockwork, anybody our age, like, oh yeah,
from the area,
that Public Muffins, all those guys, not the same genre, but like, we were all part of the same scene.
Yeah,
like,
I was homies. Yes, like, I knew all those dudes.
You were a performer, I was a watcher, but like, and you made the transition, sir. You've got a big following. You're playing at shit like at Slim and Chubby's.
Right.
I love the genre, and you moved on. You didn't just, like, there's nothing wrong, I think, with just, if you shut down at hardcore music and you just, like, went to school for, like, accounting or something, I still would have been your friend. We still would have gone and see movies. But like, to see that you're doing this, I admire that. That takes skill. That takes balls. Right. Because did you ever see yourself being a DJ back when you were,
electronic shows, right? Like, there's all varying different types of electronic shows.
Do you remember when you went to an electronic show?
One of the first big ones was Bass Nectar in Madison. I was 19 years old. I was in college, you know, kind of in the party scene, seeing what life was about, opening my eyes up to new ways of thinking and, new ways of perceiving things. And it is a really cool community, and it felt very similar to, like, the metal scene. It's tight knit, and there's a lot of respect. There's even though people assume it's just all partying, it's like, no, these are people that take care of each other, really. So that was kind of motive at first, and I always was collecting music. I was always downloading music and making sure that, like, I was on top of where genres were kind of heading and splitting off. So that's the crazy thing about it. Some people assume that electronic music is like techno. It's like, I hate when people say that. It's like, oh, so you play techno? It's like, no, I've never DJed techno music. But there's so many different genres that it's split off into that it's like so many are even unnameable. Like, there's future bass, and it's like, who really knows what that is? It's just a sound people haven't heard. It's a future type of bass music. So
is that really what that is?
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I've never heard it before.
Yep. And there's like dubstep, trap. Yep. There's all different varying types of funk and a lot of cool shit in the music scene, and kind of was able to take the approach of having a lot more autonomy. Because when you're in a band with 4 to 6 people, there's a lot of band politics, scheduling issues. There's a lot of, what direction do we want to go? Who's committed? And so this project is, I appreciate, you saying takes a lot of skill and whatnot. But honestly, when I started, I was just pressing buttons and knobs and seeing what worked, And
that was going to be one of my questions. Is like, how much you hear all the stereotypes? Right. I'm sure you've had them hurled right at you.
Right.
This shit's true, man.
As far as it being easy, it's easy to DJ. It's hard to DJ.
Okay.
And so I think there's two different elements of DJing too. Is there's an element of control room. You know, people always assume, and it's different in every scenario. You know, if you're at a college bar versus playing in a really big name club in Chicago, it's like your element of who you are as an artist is different. You know, so a college scene type of bar, they're going to be asking for requests and assume that Jay's going to play whatever the room wants to have. Well over 3,000 now that I have queued up and ready, you know, so it's like I can go whatever direction with stuff. But yeah, when I started out, it was just like, how do these two songs mix? You know, how do they sound there? And then kind of building the layers and adding X, what do these different elements do? So to DJ is press play on your phone. That can be DJing, you know. That's actually another element I wanted to get into is that, you know, sorts of DJs use all different types of equipment. You know, this is a turntable setup. This is something that similar to like what Dr. Dre would have used back in the day, except he used actual vinyl records. One record over here, one vinyl record over here, had to slow one down with this to get it to the same tempo, and, you know, match them up and get them going. Technology's always come, you know, light years that used to be back in the day. You know, the skill used to be just to match the beat. All that mattered is like now there's an element of getting the key signature, letting two songs kind of mesh, adding effects on top of it, and then, you know, your ups and your drops and all that. There's a lot of different elements that now allow people to be way creative with it. And also the cost of entry is way lower than what it used to be. It used to be
lower.
Yeah, you used to, you know, like back
700. They can't see it, but there's a word back here. That's 700 plus a MacBook, which everyone knows is not cheap.
True. I guess that before. But I mean, back in the day, it was like, you know, necessarily cheap, and all the gear that would go along with it, and having just records on records on records. You know, it's like now it's like I can go and just download a whole playlist of music and kind of sort through what I like, what I don't, to really find my style with it. So there's that one element of it, the DJing side of it. Now I'm kind of, I don't want to say I've reached any type of pinnacle as a DJ, but it's like to where I'm now challenging myself with the production side of things. So just raw writing music, using a keyboard, MIDI controller, and putting it in. I was getting that before is there's a lot of different styles to DJing. You know, some people use like a MIDI controller where it's like a launch pad and it'll have like all their samples ready. And so it's a different style of DJing, you know, turntable I enjoy. And I think I was kind of drawn to it because of the old style of DJing that it is, even though I don't like scratch, like wicka wicka. But
can you do that on there?
I can for sure, but it's not necessarily my style. You know, like back in the day, that was a sound that they got to match the beat. You know, so they would try it, it would slip, and they would hear it, and they'd be like, "Oh, it wasn't on beat." So then they do it again, they get it, and then it's on beat. The two tracks are going. To let it play, or, you know, to rewind and cue up like a different part, you know, to have something repeat multiple times. I can cue that up and just hit a pad here, and it'll keep hitting that part of a song. So
I think one of those, my buddy who loaned all this equipment is, I think he one of those. It's got a bunch of rubber pads on them.
Okay.
It's just you hit them, they play effects. I've never actually used it. He said I don't need it. He actually just threw a bunch of equipment at me, and I think that just must have been in there.
Yeah, dude. So, if you want some help setting it up too, like controllers can do so much. You could set, you know, any sample to play on it, so you could be like, "What?" or like, "Oh yeah, for sure."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not really. I plugged it in, and it like downloaded all the drivers for it, but I never bothered with it. He's like, "You really don't need this."
Yeah, so actually just plug it in, and then you could load whatever samples and then have it play. So if even during, you know, your live radio shows, you want to have like claps or cheering or shit like that, you could easily do it. So
I mean, like I've considered that,
Mhm.
but I feel like if I were to do that, I personally would get really fucking carried away.
Yeah, just
Yes, like that fucking there's that episode of Sunny in Philly where they do a podcast,
yeah,
and she's got a bunch of like pre-effects, like a duck quacking, like a clock ticking,
yeah,
and all of a sudden it's like, God damn it, play that, and she hits one when he's talking. It was a laser. It's like,
yeah.
he goes, what was that? Laser. She goes, okay, do it. And he kept doing it over and over. She's like, stop. He's like, no, I won't fucking do it. Just gets so addicted to the fucking laser.
Right.
Anyways, but no, I like for the longest time, especially like when I had that prejudice towards hardcore music,
Mhm.
I thought it was easy. And I
Right.
thought it was, for like people who didn't want to get good, like just a crowd pleaser. It's like, oh, this
Right.
is what the fucking plebs want to hear. And then I got into it. I'm like, fuck. When you were playing me that sample earlier, now I'm not saying I hate DJ music. I enjoy music just like that once in a while.
Right.
Like if I walk into a bar, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
I want to hear something that makes me want to round.
Right.
And that does. I don't necessarily want to hear like, I don't want to walk into like Slims and hear like fucking, the grinding fucking, because it's like I'm not at a biker bar, I'm not at a
Right.
grunge bar. I want to like something poppy. That's just what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Slims does a really good job of like playing all kinds of stuff, but like I want to be in a poppy bar. I've always held the esteem that it was just easy. And that's like, that is a prejudice. I'm sure you know.
Mhm.
That's a prejudice that goes along with being a DJ. And to hear you say that it's easy to become one,
Mhm.
or no, what did you say? It's easy to be one, but it's not easy to be a good one.
Right.
And I really, that's a good explanation. And then you backed it up. You
Mhm.
backed it up with how like you have to read a room.
Right.
I never even considered that. Like anybody could do this shit. Like if you set me up with this and told me how to do that, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna go get hired by a banquet hall or shit.
Right.
They're like, and every show you do is an opportunity for you to get discovered even more
Mhm.
and possibly learn something and possibly your talents as it, but also like you learn another technique. Like
Exactly. That's what I was going to
Yeah.
get to. Every show is practice for me,
Yeah.
and especially like on the system I was playing on last night, CDJs, it's not what I have. I have, a controller here that connects to my computer. It's not a lone system like that is. And I have a lot more visibility with this system, and I can actually do more X on this than I could on CDJs. So not more than 2 handful of times. And so jumping on those is always a fun opportunity. Those are, all the bigs use CDJs. If you're at a festival or you're at a large show, even at big clubs, they'll have CDJs, which is nice as a DJ because I walk in with my thumb drive and I'm like, good to go. I don't even need to bring this or this.
I was gonna say that's really nice.
Yep, and you don't need to worry about it crashing. I mean, last night I was dealing with a little bit of like input cord issues, but it's like
you telling me that it felt pretty bad.
Yeah, it sucks for sure, but it's like I said, it's always a learning experience. And I feel like so much of being a DJ is overcoming that adversity and like the show must go on. You learn that in a band too, because people don't really know when you screw up. Because you just like keep going and they just keep moving along and people keep moving later, so nobody like remembers that.
Yeah.
So you can easily kind of overcome, any learning hurdles or whatever. But so much of the work as a DJ is just finding your stuff, collecting your library of samples and songs and things that you want to use and just compiling them. It is an element of reading a room, but it's also an element of controlling a room. It's like I'll throw down and like drop after drop for 5 or 6 tracks, and there's people's brains will be, I would know if I was in their position, it would be like, holy shit, this is a lot happening, and then I'll bring it down because it's like, all right, you all need a break. I get it. I need a break. As I'm up here just dancing around and shit, it's like that's half of it too. It's a show. It's an element of entertainment that you need to.
No one wants to see a DJ just going.
Yeah, just looking down the whole time, not even like not looking at the crowd or reading the crowd or interacting. And that's also an element from being in bands that I really enjoyed is, we always had that. It doesn't matter if you're playing for 550, 500, or 5,000 people, you play the same ass show. Like if people at your show and you're opening up the show, you throw the fuck down so that those 20 people, maybe 2 of them tell their friend, that's a net positive gain as an artist. You now have 2 fans that you didn't before. And so that has gone to DJing for me, even to the point where, I'll live stream and, or whatever, and I'll throw down by myself with a camera in front of me. There's nobody there that I'm reading. There's nobody that I'm playing for per se, but somebody can watch and be like, damn, yeah, he's getting into it. And that's half of it too, is when you're feeling it, you can do so much the mix too.
Yeah, you were like starting to throw down, started like bobbing and weaving, and I was like, he's getting into it right here, and there's nobody watching.
Right.
I was listening, she was listening and watching. You were doing it because like it's within you. It's in your blood now, and like you just get into it. You didn't have to get into it.
Right.
It's really neat to see like it just like this. I guess the spirit of it, feeling of it, vibe. Right. It just took over you, and I could see that you like left the room up here, and you were in there. I thought that was really, really cool.
I appreciate that too. Yeah, it's definitely something that it's a tool. It becomes kind of an extension of. I hear things as I'm doing them, and sometimes a little bit prior, so I have some time to cue it up and get it ready. But sometimes it works, and I'm surprised. I'm like, holy shit, that works out really well. And so sometimes I surprise myself. I'll go back into mixes and I'll be like, that part's really cool. I like that, and then remember that and use it later. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's always kind of a learning curve of trying to figure out where I'm at, what I'm trying to do with it. But for me, it's just always had the element of keeping it fun. And the more I can get into it and feel it. So kind of back to your previous question of how I thought I was going to be a DJ. It was like when I was at shows, like I was feeling it then, to the point where I could just like throw down to somebody and I would know what was 16, 32 bars, measures, whatever. You can kind of guess where things are going. Like a build-up is going to be your 4 measures, and then you're going to have your drop. And then there's going to be 4 measures, and then something's going to change a little bit for like another drop there. And then it's going to chill out for the next 8 or 16 measures. So it's like there's kind of an element that's pretty similar in all songs that you can kind of read. And that's, as a DJ, you can start to pick up on those different things and use a lot of different elements of different songs. But yeah, I mean, I've always felt it, before I was a DJ. And it's really weird self-identifying as a DJ after you've been in bands and whatnot, because like I said, it is easy to get started. To press buttons and twist knobs is like, I can make noise come out of this thing. But to do it well and make it sound nice and have people enjoy it is a little bit more challenging.
And to perform, like,
yeah, exactly.
Some people know this, but I was in IT for a while. But when I was in IT, I didn't have much computer experience, but everyone that I worked for said I had soft skills, which is like the ability to deal with sometimes like the best computer people will not have the ability to just like someone will ask them a stupid question, will go, oh my god, you fucking like they just immediately put their heads down because they didn't know something like pretty complex.
Very complex.
I mean, like depending on what you're learning for, shit, it might be really bad, but like like what you were saying is fuck, I just lost my shit.
I mean, it's very similar with DJs too.
Come back.
A lot of them are a lot of the DJ personalities that I've gotten to know some big names too, or had the opportunity to meet or chat with, just with some bigger names. A lot of them are very nerdy, they're very.
Do you think a subpar DJ who maybe isn't technically versed, who isn't maybe 100% where he should be on the mixer, do you think he could overcome that and be maybe even more successful if he is just an outrageously good performer? Like performing,
definitely
puts on a show.
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, that's half of what people do these things for, like in any really genre or element of the music industry, people aren't making money off of us like they used to. People are making money off of doing tours and people coming out to their shows. People are entertained. They want to feel like they are removed from this world into this other world and dealing with highs and lows and goods and bads through this journey of a musical experience. Whether that's a rapper or whether that's a DJ, everybody has to have those elements, those feelings out of people. Otherwise, there won't be that relatability that like people really love about going to a show. I think that somebody can be, and I don't even know what subpar as a DJ is. I've heard some people, like, of course there's transitions and shit that I don't like, but some people do, like hardstyle is not a VDM that I like, but it goes into like a dubstep or a trap drop really well. So some people use that as an element to cool their brain and then go into like a drop, and it's like a breath of fresh air for people. But I guess back to my point is that some people can be, have a different style than I might like, but be a really good performer. And I enjoy watching that. There's plenty that I've been to, and I've, been blessed to be able to see all kinds of artists and all different genres of EDM coming up. And, even the tier 1 acts that are, drawing in 6,000 people. And it's like seeing them and just even their demeanor, like after a set, it's like very cool people, down to earth, and they're very appreciative of where they're at, and they know they wouldn't be anywhere without their fans. So it's really cool to kind of see the elements of, the crowd pleasing, the entertaining, but then also the how can I be real with people too.
Awesome. Do you remember last when I asked you, have you ever seen some DJs like when you said you were having technical difficulties, and you told me like one of your favorite like is like the troubleshooting and like getting over adversity, and just making it over another obstacle, and learning, coming out on the other side, learning and feeling better. I asked him, like, you ever seen someone flip out, freak the fuck out, and just lose their shit?
Dude, it's weird. It's an element of like there's a lot of egos in the DJ. People building themselves up on this rock of an ego, right, and assuming that they're like somebody that everybody should look. And it's like something doesn't go their way or something's not set up a certain way, and they just freak out. I'm not going to name names.
Don't do that.
I definitely remember one set in particular. The CDJs weren't set up right, and the dude was just so pissed off because it was on his rider. He was like, "Putting up how I need it wired up," and it's like he had no idea how to shit up. And it's like when you don't have that equipment yourself, it can be frustrating. Last night I wasn't sure what the problem was, so I just reset everything, and I was just like, all right, let's start over, make sure everything's plugged in like hard enough to be. It happened a couple of times, but I hadn't figured it out.
Get through it, man.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
I've definitely seen people lose their cool. Yeah, of course it sucks. It sucks for people that were sitting in front of the speaker when it cut out and came back in real quick and just like, it's just like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So, yeah, I mean, some people are better at overcoming that adversity and some people aren't. I think a lot of people don't have the patience that it takes to really get somewhere. And as an artist, it's not like things are going to happen overnight. A lot of it is just starting, though. To anybody that's thinking about DJing or wants to, it's like that alias, create that person. It doesn't even need to be hard set. Like, I don't know what the journey of like, Romz is going to be and what my artist is, what direction that's going to go. It's like, I want it to be adaptable. I want to work on music however I feel like it. If I want to jam out on an acoustic guitar, I'm going to. If I want to bring in guitar elements or key elements, like whatever, like I want to have, that's what's awesome about, the world of producing is you're by yourself and you can work with other producers. People work, on tracks together all the time. And that's what I'm looking to do as well. Cause you learn a lot from other people. What's their style? How do they, there's even, to DJing, there's 10 times more troubleshooting in production. Just how do I get this sound? How do I refine this sound? How do I compress it and master it to be, a good solid like drop, for example, good intro and build up that draws people in to want to hear that drop. So yeah, there's elements of learning from other people too. With D particular, especially for me, like I didn't really learn from people. I practiced and figured out what worked for me. Actually, my problem is that I was trying to let people, everybody's got their own style of DJing, even with turntablism. Like I didn't even use my cross first. I would just go up and down on these two. So these are my volume, and then it goes back and forth between the two. And so I was doing that honestly, like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I started using the cross fadeaway more, and it changed my game of how I DJ and how my brain works with meshing songs together and shit like that. So
that's cool that like it's been there the whole time. That knob or the slide or whatever it's called, it's been there the whole time, and you never used it. Right. And now you have, and you said it changed your game. And
I've just seen so many people just always DJing like this, and I was just like, oh, well, I assume always relearn how to use something, even effects. Like I have my core effects that I use, whether it's a pan or it's an echo or a delay or reverb. Like they're pretty basic effects, but when you add them together, it can cause really cool like swirling of things happening in headphones. So it's it's a lot to learn, and I encourage anybody to pick it up that wants to. It's something that costs a little bit to get into, but the sooner that you start, the greater chances you have of building a fan base or getting things going too. And I mean, I haven't really accomplished a whole lot with it. I've played in Milwaukee, I've played in Chicago, but it's not like I've played.
I'd say that's something.
Yeah, I haven't played for sold out 2,000 people or some shit like that, but obviously I have my aspiration and I'd love to be there, but it's also like I'm not going to get hard on myself and be like, why the fuck hasn't this happened yet? It's like there's elements of organically happen that is important. I don't want to take any relationship that I have and try to sway them into me doing something that or even at this point, like until I have, enough library of my own produced music, I don't want to play in front of 2,000 people. I'm playing other people's shit, which DJs do all the time. DJs play music. That's what they do. But having a good library of my own and, the feelings that I can truly convey over my own written tracks is for me before that kind of next step.
How many years have you been doing this?
I picked this up literally be 2 years about now.
Just 2?
Yeah. So
I'd say 2 years. You just told me you played Milwaukee and Chicago, and maybe you're just a humble guy, but I think that's not bad.
Yeah.
I just say like, earlier,
no,
no problem. And earlier you said like, I don't think I've reached a pinnacle. Maybe pinnacle's not the right word. I think success. I'm gonna relate this to Pokemon. Sorry, but did you ever play the old games?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Red, Blue.
Yep.
Okay. The entire game is you just ascending those 8 levels of the gyms, and every time you beat one, you're just climbing up and up and up until you get to what's called the Indigo Plateau, which is where the Elite Four are. And then I heard someone tell me it's like you're just climbing those 8 levels. And then at the top is like your biggest challenge. But then you don't stop plateau. There's another level above that. And that's like the Cerulean Cave where Mewtwo is.
Right.
But anyways, it's like we're done. You're just climbing tiny little platforms like a ladder up until you get to the top. But then there's another ladder.
Right.
So like that's how I've always thought of that. I've done.
Yeah, that goes with goal setting for anything. You want to set your short and your long-term goals, and it's interesting kind of my path into a whole scene of DJing and whatnot. I was friends with a lot of DJs, and I was like, well, this would be kind of cool in the artist management. I'd taken my business background, and I was like, oh, well, these people have a lot of talent, and they don't have the exposure. They don't have the place that they should be in, so I'd get into the management side of music and the music industry. Which put me in a weird place when I wanted to start DJing, when I wanted to start doing it myself. So kind of, it was intuitive. I shouldn't be, trying to promote somebody else when it's like I'm working on my own stuff. We're going to wonder, am I just doing that to try to get in with that group and, play a show or whatever. So got kind of interesting at times. But yeah, shout out to the people who've helped me shows that I've gotten and believed in me and, fans. I don't think I have a huge fan base, but whoever follows me, that I appreciate that shit a ton. So
you've only been going for the fact that you've done what you've done in 2 years. I'm not sure of the life cycle of a DJ. This is where you're supposed to be or not. as long as you are enjoying the whole, and you already know this, I don't have to fucking tell you this, but I'm going to anyway. As long as you personally are enjoying your ride, then that's all that matters. I saw one of my friends, and I think I saw him join earlier, but we have a lot of comments. We haven't even looked at the comments.
Nice.
I hope we sound okay. Usually I ask if we sound okay. Your voice sounds deeper, the audio weird.
We sound easy.
Did you drink a lot?
What up, bass?
Sorry. I'm sorry. We had a lot of people watching. This is not real.
Any questions or shit that we should be going over?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions at all,
in the comments.
This is your chance to ask a real live DJ.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. Like,
something's wrong with my voice, I guess.
Self-identifying as a DJ, like I said earlier, is just like really weird coming from being in bands and whatnot. And it's like, at what point do I consider myself like actually a DJ? And like, I didn't really know. I played shows as a DJ, and it's like, I never really felt like that's what I was.
I think the first time, if I were to go by it, I would say it's the first time you get paid. To do something.
Yeah.
I myself don't ever want to get paid for this because this doesn't cost money. My electric bill. That's it. And I don't want to make money off of this. This is something I want to do for fun. And I only want to do 100 episodes. If for some reason people want me to keep going, then going.
Right.
But so my definition of this being successful, one, I just want to reach as many people, and I want to this whole thing is about promoting uncensored face-to-face conversation. I don't think I think race has lost a little bit of it, but that's okay because 100%. That's the way that the world technology we have. I sit on my phone all the fucking time.
Right.
And I love it. It is so convenient. It is so handy for everything in life. And I do not condemn it whatsoever. But I think it's very healthy to sit face to face with another human being, put that shit away, and look at each other in the eye. And
for sure.
I haven't talked to you in 5 years.
Yeah, dude.
And I think I didn't talk to Gabby in I want to say close to 3, 4 maybe. I love the fact that she came on. I haven't seen forever. She has a couple of kids. She's very busy. So she took time out of her schedule to come see me and do this because she expressed interest in it.
Right.
And the fact that we sat down, and I could tell first, but when we started talking, it was like we've been best friends forever. And but I'm really, really happy that it happened.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too, man.
By the way, I'm not doing this to sign off. We're only at 45 minutes. This is in my head now, and I need to get it out.
No, cool. I wanted to say it right in the beginning too.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on and having the opportunity. I don't really open up a whole lot like I used to, and let people know what's going on in the life of Jake or in the life of Romz. It's whatever. It's kind of keeping to myself and working on me and doing the things that make me happy,
Good.
And, to define success with this isn't about making money.
Right.
It's if I can make people feel something, experience something in a new way, that's my objective,
But the money's really nice too.
Yeah. Of course, if I could do this full time in a way that I didn't, need to work a 9 to 5 or something like that, that'd obviously be the lifestyle that would be pretty baller.
Oh, fuck.
But at the same time, I know a lot of artists and a lot of DJs that, it's not all making it is, and, it's not about money. And, touring can be difficult for a lot of people, and difficult on relationships or whatever it might be. So there's elements of kind of keeping all those things in check and what, I've tried to put me up in 6 months from now. What does my life look like? It's realistically, I need to consider those things. Otherwise it'll happen and it'll be, I'll lose myself or whatever, so many DJs do, there's a lot of people that'll make it and then it's tour life isn't for them or whatever. And it's that's a lifestyle that's not for everyone. And, a lot of people can get lost in a lot of different avenues of what can happen when you're on the road and that kind of shit. So definitely things I've thought about and considered at one point, it was about goals, it was about getting them in the mindset of, what do you want to do with this, and what does your life look like, and how are you reacting, and being proactive in situations before they happen. So kind of trying to take those elements into my own, artist journey.
Do you have you don't have to tell me where, but like, do you have a day job? I'm assuming you do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've
got to pay for this awesome shit somehow.
Yeah. I've always kind of I've been in sales since college.
Okay.
I ran my own painting business. And so there was an element of management and sales and project management and managing employees that was involved in running my own business. So I learned that, there's an opportunity to make a lot of money really quick in sales. So I jumped into that and kind of been bouncing in and out of different ventures as well, seeing where they go. So it's kind of a mix of figuring it out too. It's not necessarily that I feel I need to do one certain thing. It's like I have a lot of different things that I do. So it's not just one source of income. It's like there's this sales job, and then there's this sales job, and there's this sales job. One might be all commission. It's like, if I make a sale, cool. If I don't, whatever. And then, there's different elements of all of them too. So in the process right now too, of kind of refiguring out where I want to be and, what would be the best for me. And, especially realistically, I'd want to be spending 2-3 hours a day doing that, each night or wherever it might be. So kind of building a lifestyle around whatever work that might be or whatever it is. It's a really nice thing about sales. You can hop around. Everybody needs good salespeople, and
you can be a hired gun.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. and you can help them out for a certain amount of time and leave, and everybody's happy, and you get paid for what you did, and see you later. Nobody's mad about it either.
You telling me that, and like knowing who you are for when I did know you, I mean, I'm sure you're a totally different person. So for all intents and purposes, you seem like you just seem like a person that always just faces a new challenge. I wanted to say the word fear, but like for a very, very long time, I had like this huge fear of failing. And like, I was just like, but you used to be the kind of person that's just like how you just said, in sales, you're doing other jobs and you're doing this, and you are new to this because I remember before when you were into music, and that definitely helped you with this, but you just seem like you enjoy just diving into something new, facing all those fears and challenges. And I've never, ever for the life of me can remember when you were saying something negative about it, not on Facebook or in person. You always were like, you weren't even like overly positive either. You were just like, you were fairly normal.
Right.
Like you never ever posted like something negative or bad or just downing or super on the opposite. You were never like glorifying yourself. You were just taking on life and just spearheading yourself into these new adventures. And like, I don't know if all of them were successful. I'm sure you've had a couple of setbacks and failures, but like to see like this doesn't happen without you experiencing failure and knowing how to overcome it. So I just want to I just want to hear like some of your, like, if you want to talk about it,
right?
Like maybe like what your philosophy is on like just facing something new and facing some like new challenges. Maybe some of your failures or some of your bigger successes, like whatever you want to talk about. But I just want to say, like, you seem like a kind of guy that was just like, you're always taking.
You're still looking at like profit loss statements. You're running a business, which was really cool, and still something that I look back on. I'm like, that's a really cool opportunity. Shedworks painting. It was a fucking awesome experience for me. I know a lot of the people that I went through it with too, learned a lot, and it did well. But, beyond that, it's like in sales, whether I was working in sales in, for RF technology company or for Krieger International, who does commercial furniture, on the different elements that are the same in sales, but then also the new elements. But back to college, I learned really quickly, that the more you can push it, so the more you can learn. And I'm always watching, inspirational video, TED Talks and shit like that.
I got to get into TED Talks. I hear so much about them.
Yeah, it's important as podcasts, people that you want to listen to, but TED Talks are pretty short too. So they'll be like 10, 15 minutes. So you can get into it and watch one and, you just spend a large amount of your time doing it. So I definitely see those. But yeah, when I was in college, learning that pushing level, because I'd never painted a house before. And here I'd sold, $46,000 of doing it my first year. I can did 76,000. And those are 2 good years of running a painting business and a lot about myself, but I'd never actually painted a house. So I need to fake it till you make it type of scenario. And that's uncomfortable, knocking on a door and being like, I'm a branch manager for College Works Painting, and I'd love to give you a free estimate for your home. Like, that's worse, right? Very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
But then you get over that and you realize that there's a lot of cool shit. I went to Cancun with them, and in the summers I was running crews of painters and sitting at the beach and hanging out with my friends, having a beer. So it's like element of being able to really do my own thing. And I've always realized, the people who are successful doing what they want to do are always pushing that envelope. And for me, I've had setbacks. I've had projects that I've been very passionate about that have failed, and that sucks. But you learn and you move on, and if you don't learn, if there's an element that you didn't take away a learning experience, that's when there's a problem. So
sure.
There's a quote that there's no such thing as failures, there's lessons.
No losses, only lessons. Yeah. That's multiple versions of it, but that's the one I heard the most, the shortest, quickest
and
one.
I think it's true, and it's unfortunate. We live, especially in our society, in our day where everybody's connected, social network and whatnot, thinks they're an entrepreneur, right? And it's like, how much are you actually new? You're just pushing somebody else's brand. Somebody else's shit. So it's like, that's not really like you. That's not your brand and your thing.
Does that kind of like, as somebody who did that, does that kind of like bother you a little bit?
Oh, fucking irritates shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm really happy because I'm not an entrepreneur by any means. But it's still tough because you got the fucking stones to call yourself an entrepreneur, pushing Mary Kay.
Right.
Fuck you, dude.
Right. And so many people have trust.
No offense if that's what you do. I'm sorry.
And I've gotten in a lot of heated arguments about this shit. People pushing on me because they see me as this type of person where they're like, oh, if I get this person underneath me, my sales are going to go.
Yeah, you're lying.
And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, I get it. But I'm only helping you if I do this. So it's not necessarily what I'm always trying to do. So it's fun when I get into those heated debates. It's like, you're not actually an entrepreneur. You're representing somebody else's brand and being told how to do it too. So it's like, true entrepreneur is like that risk taker where you have the autonomy and do things the way you want and run your business the way you want. That's what I love so much about this artist project. Not so much as a business, but it's like, I have the autonomy to do whatever I want with it. It's part of the reason I chose the name that I did, is just to keep it real. I am. That's like one of my first nicknames that I had in high school was Romz.
Yeah.
And so everybody can be as that back in the day, because there's always a Jake's around. I have a joke that it's not a real party until there's another Jake there, and it's pretty true. Once there's another Jake there, I'm like, right, and it's actually because there's enough people that there's law of averages. There's now another Jake here.
Yep, a lot of fucking Jakes just everywhere. I think I called you Jake last night because I got really irritated in high school when people cheer. I was the only Mitch in the school, 400 kids. It's like, come on, call me. And it's like, that's just how it went. But I'm like, ever since freshman year, I always locked it in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna call people names because that's what it should be. And
it's given name.
I'm like, that's your God-given name. It's on your birth certificate.
Right.
Call me my fucking name. And God-given and fucking the same thing.
Yeah,
but I was like,
wrong in some way.
I was like, I remember calling you Jake, but yes, I remember Romz. You were Romz back in 2007.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Ethan, the drummer in Clockwork, he came up with that nickname when I was in 8th grade, and it kind of stuck since there. And especially one of my first jobs was at Gillies in Fond du Lac.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I think I remember. I don't remember you being there because you were in the back,
right?
But I remember hearing that.
Cooking shit,
dude.
There's another.
Pieces are fucking coming together,
right? There's another Jake working at the time. They're like, "Do you have a nickname?" And I was like, "Some of my friends," and sure shit, had it all on all my hats that we had to wear.
That's really neat.
So that's kind of why I chose that, is to bring it back. If for whatever reason this goes in a positive direction and somebody's like hits me up and like, Romz, it's like it'll bring me back to like that homey kind of like
comfort and endearment.
Yeah. So it's like I don't really know, like I can't say X, Y, or Z is gonna happen with the artist project, but it's like something that I wanted to be true to who I am, and you know, I'm always changing, so my music, my styles, and what influences me is always changing too. But that's what's really cool about a DJ is, you know, they're just showing you what they're into and what they like, and you know, you might like some of it and you might not like some of it, and it's like it's all cool. Like, you know, you can't please everybody, and you can't have that expectation that everybody's going to love you either. So that's also the realistic element of it that I try to keep in perspective. It's like I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Nobody is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if I make one fan every show that I play, I'm happy, you know?
Yeah.
And if one person comes up to me and says, hey, good set, I'm happy. And I haven't played a show yet where, you know, nobody's come up to me like, hey, good job. So
no, I'm really happy that you found the success in this, and just like it, just overcoming the other shit that you were going through with like you said, you've had some of your projects fail. I was gonna ask, like, you don't feel like you have to, but like, do you want to talk about like what did fail, maybe like what you learned from it? Because like everybody loves a success story. Everybody loves like, yeah, I started this thing in like a year. I was like fucking huge, and I was making, you know, how much money. And everybody likes hearing that, and that's what everybody talks about. But like, maybe, you know, I want to maybe hear about the time where like, yeah, you put a lot of heart into this and it just collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, I can think about a very specific opportunity that I had to work project.
I remember, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you're going to get sad or...
No, I'm going to shed a tear.
Sure, okay.
Maybe it'll help me to reflect on it, too.
Sure.
But I was working with in Milwaukee and had jumped on board with the team as the executive marketing director. So I kind of built up a whole, you know, street team. They're our ambassador, really like calling them street team, but they're the people who kind of represented what we were going for and what we were doing. This theater was going to be, you know, the only tier 2 venue in Milwaukee. So in Milwaukee currently, there's a couple tier 3 venues that, you know, your capacity is anywhere between 350. Your tier 1s, like the Eagles ballroom at the Rave, is 6,000 people. So you can fit a lot of people in there. So we were kind of in that niche tier 2 that Milwaukee doesn't have right now. You know, a venue that could support 1,300 people, and bring in, you know, those decent sized name acts. And Milwaukee has a big enough draw there too, and it was close enough to Chicago that, you know, somebody's touring or stopping through. The opportunity that I got really excited about, poured a lot of passion, a lot of heart into it. The timeline didn't really work out. A lot of people were talking and not walking the walk. A lot of people were saying shit was going to happen when it didn't happen, making promises that they couldn't fulfill, just doing shitty stuff in the industry. And I had been very motivated at that point. Actually, somebody I had worked with through KI, he was an outside sales rep for KI in San Francisco. And he works for Vital now, and they have a big event coming up called Wobbleland, and you know, they're doing great, awesome shit. And so anyway, like, you know, he had told me, we had a conversation in a green room one time, and like that was one of the first times like I got to hang out with artists and be in a green room. And I was just like, oh, this is real. We had a conversation. He was like, you know, if you take half the professionalism that you have with KI and what we're doing with KI, and you bring that into the music industry, you'll kill it. You'll be in a good spot. And so, you know, poured all this time and energy into this theater, and people weren't backing up what they said was going to happen, moves forward with it, and I get a phone call and shit starts happening. You know, I'll be happy to help them out, but it's more or less, you know, I kind of let it fade, and I guess there's a lot of people saying they could do shit when they couldn't. And a lot of people saying that they could do a lot of shit when they couldn't even do a little shit. So it sucked, because it was like I was trying to do my very best. I poured all my passion and soul into it. I had people following me, you know, people that were like, I believe in you. I believe in your vision and what you're trying to do with this place and how you're trying to do it, you know, in a very positive outlook of, you know, an industry that can be whatever, you know, maybe not so positive to some people. So keeping it real on that. And so it's kind of a failure, but it's also kind of just a learning experience of, you know, setting expectations and having realistic expectations of others and of me. You know, at one point I thought I should apologize to everybody who had, you know, kind of set out this plan to do these things with, and it didn't follow through. And, you know, I'd never made an actual statement as to what happened or why things happened, but I didn't really know at the time either. So there's a lot of missing information, and I built up that excitement. You know, these people were, this is happening. And then they're like getting behind it. So it is a lot of learning experiences, a lot of little different elements of it too. So, you know, came out stronger on the other side. And, you know, I have these experiences and these contacts, and, you know, I just don't want people to think I took advantage of them, or, you know, I got a lot of opportunities to like go over promoters and meet with artists and talk with them about this theater. Cause, you know, a lot of artists and a lot of, you know, artist managers and everything, they're looking at their chops and they're like, this would be perfect opportunity for us to send, you know, this tier 2 artist who's just about to be tier 1. This could help them, you know, push over that envelope. So it was a cool opportunity to have those conversations, but then it kind of sucks when it was just like all the validity kind of got dragged away, and it's like everybody wonders who the hell I am and what I'm doing. Now it's like I have this artist project here, which I enjoy doing, but this is for fun. You know, that was more of like a business mindset. How can I make money within the music industry from a business perspective, which was always something I was very passionate about doing. I still am. You know, I don't really view this as a business, as an experience that I'm trying to promote to other people and whatnot. So there's the element of the business that, yeah, I mean, to say it was all a failure, I think, you know, would be putting it a little bit harshly, but I definitely have a lot of experiences from all of that.
Setback, maybe.
Yeah, definitely setback.
I think it's so important to express, like, the word failure to me, it's associated with you just completely not living up to what was expected of you, and that includes like school. It's like you start at such a young age, like 3rd grade. It's like, you just got an F on this math test, Billy. You're gonna succeed, Billy. That's a red mark on your thing, Billy. It's like, what you did was just express the fact that you failed to comprehend this. That the word failure isn't harsh. It's supposed to mean like, okay, you don't understand this. What can we do to make you understand this? Like, what don't you get? Okay, let me take it slower, or let me angle, and then you get later in life, and then you think,
outside of ticket sales or money or any of that garbage, like, the experience was that what I was about. That was my vision. That was passion. I want to be different than everybody else.
Right. It just came back to me. The whole thing with like the failing and everything. It's just you need to know, like, do not like people who don't think they've ever failed, or like they don't like the self-love thing. So like TK the comedian says, self-love is important, but self-realization, that's just as important, not more. You need to realize that you kind of suck something. You can't,
or a lot of things.
Or a lot of things. The participation trophy shit. We're the participation trophy generation, which was like us, a couple years ahead of us and behind us. We're all adults now, and now we're paying the fucking price for that with how we're acting and how the generation a little bit ahead of us and behind us is acting. And like, but yeah, we kind of fucking suck. And the ability to take a loss and realize you suck is so important, because it's like, holy shit, like if you shot a bow, it's a weird example. If you shot a target from 10 feet away and it misses the target entirely, like, fuck, I suck.
Yeah.
But let me try one more time. This time you hit the target. You need to have that thought that, God, I suck. And then you giggle at yourself, you giggle at your failure, and you're like, okay, let's get back on the horse.
Right.
You keep going. And I hate people who just think that, well, I'm amazing. I'm great. I don't have to try, and I just going to push everything away that I suck at.
Right.
And that's just specific.
I love the fact that you used archery. There's a book that I read called The Zen of Archery. I think it's behind the idea and the practice of any art. You know, so archery is an art sort. You know, pottery can be art. Painting.
I actually weirdly wanted to do pottery.
Yeah, dude. Whatever.
It's so weird, and I said that to a buddy of mine. He just laughs at me and goes, "It's like, you know, you're gonna all day." It's like, well, no shit. Of course, the first day you're gonna go. Well, yeah, you do it because it's a joke, but like then you're like, okay, now make the wheel. Or no, not make the wheel, make the bowl. Make the fucking, you know, hit the pedal and, you know, fucking form it. And it's like, of course, that's what you do. But because you suck, you need to do something you get. That's what Joe Rogan says. Like, every now and then I pick up something that I know I'm going to suck at.
Right.
He's like, I did fucking knitting.
Right.
I sat down with my 7 and I started knitting.
Right.
And he's like, I was terrible at it. And then I did it the next week. And now I have a little tea cozy.
It's amazing when I meet people who don't have those challenges. You know, I try
or a passion for like even trying.
Right. Yeah. You know, you had said that I take on whatever. I take on little challenges all the time to keep that fresh. You know, it's like not that many weeks ago, like probably a month ago, my brother was here. He travels all around and whatnot, and he had a Rubik's Cube with him. And I was like, I want to do this. Yeah. So, you know, I looked up like what are the moves to do certain things on it, and I'd figured it out. And I was like, shit, I need to get one of these. You know, they're $6, and just having one around, like, just challenge myself every now and then. Like, it's the little things with challenges, but kind of back to my with art and creativity. It's like my point is in this world, you're either a creator, you know, a producer, or a and so you can produce, you know, something that's where it's an entertainment or it's an experience, or, you know, you can paint and create something, or you can just be consuming the shit that is sold to you every day, you know? So it's like, what are you working for? Are you working for to have that nice furniture? It's like, there's so many philosophies. I'm sure you've seen Fight Club. Like, there's so many philosophies from that movie and that book itself that I was just like, you know, the disconnect and get away from the idea of like needing this shit, because society's going to try to sell it to you. You know, like, trust me, I went to school for marketing, and I, you know, understand the principles of psychology of what gets people to want things. And for me, it's just like trying to do that, and, you know, every day, you know, try to produce something, you know, even if it's a smile on somebody's face.
That's very sweet. It is. No, there's nothing weird about anything you say, because my former partner Travis, who I hope is still watching, he one time went on 15 minutes about, like, I think it was how he felt about his job. It was something about what he did, and he has a very specific job at his work, and like anyone from the outside is like, oh, like that's what you do, like whatever. But he was so passionate about it, and he goes, and he was telling him he felt, and he was expressing it very well in a way that I didn't think he ever could.
Sure.
Like, and he's at the end of it, he went, ah, shit, I'm sorry, man. I sound weird. I sound like I'm just going off, and I sound like a huge pussy. And he's like, I like reached to him, and I said, dude, like, just because you don't have a piece of paper that says that you should be taught about this, like, you're not certified to talk about this shit, just because you don't have a degree.
I wasn't trying to me having it, like, my degree, I think, is like, piece of paper is worthless.
I have 2 degrees sitting right there. They're on the floor for a reason. They're framed, but they're on the floor.
Right. But paying them off. It's like, fuck.
Oh, hell yeah. It's going to be a couple of years. Saw the look in his eye, and I was like, he went off. He expressed himself so fully and emotionally, and then he immediately drew it back. And I'm like, fuck, man. I wanted to give him a hug, because it's like, you just expressed yourself, but you, at the end of it, you thought it was wrong, and you're like, sorry, I don't have a slip of paper that says I'm inclined to talk about this. I'm like, just because you have an opinion about something and an emotion, like just talk about your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just did now, like where I'm like, when I said that's really sweet, but it's like, that's how I felt. I'm like,
Right.
you want to put a smile on somebody's face? That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
just
what you want to
producing,
do. It's amazing.
it's like, I think that everybody should constantly be asking themselves, what have I produced today?
Yeah.
Whether it's in your daily work life or whatever it might be, or everybody's an artist. Everybody has a creative side to them.
Mhm.
Some people are a little bit more in tune with that, and some people aren't. And to each their own. Whatever makes you tick, whatever makes you flow with that state of mind is cool for you. But I think everybody should be challenging and asking and re-asking them.
People are just scared. I think a lot of people are scared of the failure of, like, if they produce something and put a lot of time and effort into it and they show it,
that's
and
any
no
art.
one likes it.
That's any art,
Yeah.
and it's any art form too. It's like in high school, outside of music, I was painting a lot too, and it's like,
That's awesome.
there's something about like creating something and putting it out there as finished. You can work on a track and you can work on it for months and months on end before you're like, this is the master version that's done and this is how I want it to be.
Mhm.
But there's an element of letting go and letting it be that as art. Or for instance, if you're painting with acrylics, you can go over it however many times you want, like how that looks, I'm going to repaint it. It's like at some point you need to just be content with what it is.
Mhm.
And then progress to your new project, because that's really when you can see the progression of, somebody learning and getting better at any craft. Even with this, I'm sure look back at your first podcast and you're like, oh, what are the things I could do better?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I just challenge everybody to think about, are you producing? And the more that everybody can produce something, that I think that's what we're put on this earth for, is create something,
Mhm.
and to leave it a better place than when you can. So
That's beautiful.
There,
Where's
I
upgraded.
the fairy noise.
I upgraded from sweet to beautiful.
Right.
So we're only at an hour and about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about like anything else besides like an art and stuff? Because I might have a few things in my head.
Oh yeah.
What do you got? You're the guest.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't feel like you're on the spot.
Technology, I kind of wanted as a DJ and watching gear evolve. It now allows DJs to do more because a lot of it is automated. At some point, will there be an algorithm written that can put together mixes perfectly for you? For sure. I mean, it's already happening.
Do you think technology takes away from a skill? This skill of DJing? Do you think it takes away from the seriousness of it? Like, because the stigma and the prejudice and the stereotype is, it's easy or it's not as challenging or whatever. Like, do you think technology, because where technology is helping you, do you think it's even what's the word I'm looking for? Growing that stereotype?
Sure, a little bit. Definitely a little bit. Especially for people that aren't trying to push the envelope. They're getting by doing works. It's like they're not so much that you're growing in that element. But I think back to the old school DJs. If they had the technology now, they'd be using it. To not use it. I think it's a really invalid or silly argument when somebody's like, "Oh, I just do this the analog way. I don't want to record digital because it doesn't sound the same." It's like, actually, digital has more information in it. So technically it could have more sound quality than you could get from a tape. Like this is a real thing, but there's like Foo Fighters and whatnot that still record on tape because they really like that element of it. It's like it's an art form, so like there's an art form behind like DJing on actual turntables. It's like cool, and I respect the shit out of it. But for them to be like, "Oh, you're not a cool DJ," you don't. It's like, well, that's not fair either, because you constantly have to be pushing the envelope and doing something new. And I think as long as you're doing that, like, then you're adding to this art. So you know, there's elements of it that can be automated, but then that allows you to open up to do more in other areas, kind of free your mind from like I said, it used to be just beat matching two songs was the element of DJing that was huge. And then you get into scratching and replaying a part of a track. It's like those things are so easy to do now, like so easy. So there's elements of that allow people to do more with technology in general too. You know, it's like who knows where it's going to go. So many jobs are essentially going to be out the window just because of how good it's getting, and I think that's a great thing. You know, it allows people to do something else. So as long as you're creating, you're still doing things, like you're doing something for society and as a whole.
Yeah. I think it's progress. I think what you just said about how a lot of jobs are going out the window.
Yep.
I think the jobs will go out the window, but it's gonna demand higher education. Like you're like
specification too.
Yes, the really crude example, self-checkouts at Walmart.
Right.
It's like they have like, well, they have like let's say they have 7 automated checkouts that eliminated 7 jobs. And then you stand there now and monitor all of them, and then when somebody needs help, you go over there and help them, and then or if it like breaks down, you know how to fix it.
Right.
So like you lost like 6 people lost their job, but 1 will volunteer to go to school for it for like a little class. They'll pay for it. Right. And then now you earn a couple more bucks an hour, and you're standing there.
Right, because they're saving money essentially.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, so now, you know, especially if we want to keep these employees on board, how do we use them effectively? You know, or are you could use them in produce, or you could use them in making sure that you know your shelves and everything looks neat and orderly, because you know the worst thing is to go into a retail store and shit's just everywhere. You know, like you know the sizes aren't in order. Yeah, I worked at PacSun for a bit.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, I remember you worked somewhere. I know you did.
That's the shit. I really liked that job, honestly. It's like kind of my first element of sales, because like I realized that if I wasn't or whatever, you know, like I was good at that really quick. Because I realized if I wasn't doing that, I was sitting in the back organizing shit and just like doing nothing.
Fucking around.
Yeah,
I worked at Hot Topic for a little while.
Same shit.
I mean, it was fun. I felt when like mom would come in, like 2 fucking kids, like 14, 15. And they come up to the counter with like 19 things, and the mom's like, I don't know why I do this for you. Here's a card, swipe it for $400. I'm like, fuck, say no, hit them, slap them, and tell them to go read a book.
Right, go earn this,
dude. It like that was my money though.
Right,
like I didn't earn commission. I don't know if you guys did, but I just earned an hourly wage.
Yeah, we didn't really. I mean, they tracked our sales, so it was cool, I could see,
like the more you sold, the more hours you got. They were like, and I was like, fuck, I really don't want to do this. So I'm ringing it up, and I'm just like, this is great, but this sucks. I feel terrible.
And I got the coolest hours, you know, especially when you're a person who sells more. It's like stocking or shelving and all that shit is the hours that somebody who isn't really good at talking to people. Or it's like, but each of those parts is essential in a business, you know, and that's kind of back to the Walmart idea of technology and whatnot. That you know, those taking away those jobs, you could create other opportunities using those people and what their skill sets are, or pushing them to learn new skill sets and do something new for a company. Yeah.
Like I said, not everyone. Some people will be pissed and be like, I don't have to do that shit. I'll go like work at Target or something. But you got that 1 or 2 people that are like, oh, I'll go to the class.
Right.
That's fine. And maybe like out of the fear of like, well, I don't want to work somewhere else, they find out I can learn something new. Maybe it's someone who's in their 40s who hasn't been in school since, you know,
and that's
for like
awesome.
30 years. Or 20
that's
years.
Awesome when that shit happens.
Yeah. And then they start challenging themselves in other facets. And then they're like, well, I'm quitting Walmart. What the hell are you going to do?
Right.
Well, I'm going back to school. And they go to maybe like a little 2-year thing. and then they end up making like way more money than they ever thought they could.
Right.
And like maybe no one believed in them except themselves.
Right.
And then they start going to school and they find more people that do believe in them. It's like, holy shit, you have a support system. God, who knows? Maybe it's like there's a 4-year school for your degree.
All the movies, so like I like the idea. Matrix is one of my favorite movies. And I felt a lot of elements that were similar, plugging in and like doing the deep dive and that kind of shit. But I think that, you know, with technology moving forward, and you know, I think that's a big element of it is genetic, you know, parts for humans. Like, you know, somebody has legs in their 50s, and it's like, all right, well, we can give you some robotic and do way cooler shit.
Yes,
like, nice.
They have robot arms now that you can pick up a grape without squashing it, or you can pick up a pencil and you can hold it hard enough to write. I saw this video. It was one of like the first cybernetic attachments. It was from like 2002, and it was really a real crude one, and it might have been even fake. And there's like someone filming it with like a digital camera, and they're going around the room, and like this guy who was like in his 30s had a robotic arm, and he's moving it around. It's really crude and it was really delayed. He'd be like turning it left and also don't go left. Right. It was really delayed. And his brother was standing there shaking his head. He goes, what's your problem, man? And the camera points at me and goes, we're not supposed to be able to do this. We're all going to fucking hell. He puts the camera off his face and he walks out of the room. And then to a point, it's like, if you think about it, wouldn't you take the fucking arm? No, if too much, you can say it's too much until you're in there with no arm. Yeah, it's like, well, it's $50,000 to get a fake arm. Give me the fucking arm. I'll pay it off. Whatever.
Well, what about like some fucking what's the dude's name and it has 8 arms or whatever?
Doc Ock.
It's like, you know, let's start building soldiers with fucking 8 arms so they can shoot like 4 guns at a time.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and I love that.
He's for sure. Yeah.
Have you seen the new one? Tom Holland Spider-Man?
Actually, I saw the one prior, the last one he did. The new
Amazing? Dude. Or no, Amazing is
it was the new dude
Garfield. Okay. There's only 2. There's Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and he made the gadgets. It wasn't part of him. He never had any powers.
I remember that. Yeah, I watched that one.
Did you see the new one where he's part of the Avengers?
No.
It's very neat because it's not an origin story. He already has the powers at the beginning. So it's taste and it's funny. It's a goofy fucking fun movie. But if you can.
Speaking of goofy funny movies, I'm excited for Deadpool.
Deadpool 2?
Yeah, this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the best they put out in a minute. As far as funny movies, superhero also attached.
Did you see Thor? The new Thor rock?
I haven't. I've heard
it was really funny.
Is it?
Yes. Like, Thor gets way less serious because he's serious when they show him, but like
he's just
fucking such a goofball now. He's a goofy fuck dude, and it's like it's so much more lighthearted. It was almost up like Guardians of the Galaxy for Goofy. It was like right here. Dang. So I thought it was a big departure from his previous movies. I'm excited for Black Panther, which is next month already.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, I don't really know too much about it, but I've seen a couple.
Have you seen Civil War or not Civil War? Winter Soldier, which is the second Captain America.
Okay.
Doesn't show up in. No, he shows up in Civil War. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Black Panther shows up in Civil War. And Civil War is my favorite article because it's the superheroes fighting each other. They get into an argument, and there's no villain. It's like there's a couple of scenes where man's fighting Iron Man and shit. It's really neat. The biggest feud it's Captain America's Iron Man. Iron Man brings a bill that says we held accountable because we destroyed like $1 billion worth of damage during our fights. So we need to sign this act. And the Captain America says, I believe in and that's not free. So fight me. And and it splits down the middle. There's like 6 on each side, and they just clash at an airport at the end. It's like a fucking minute battle. Every superhero's beating the shit out of each other. It's really neat. Comics,
yeah, I mean the end all scenarios with superhero movies, they keep what was
gonna end? It's gotta end soon. What was
the one where the dude he was like super powerful? he was God. I forget. It had Iron Man in it, and then he had like now the computer from Iron Man. He had his computer.
That might have been Iron Man 2. Is it the not the Mandarin? The
It might have been, but no, it had that supervillain that had all different powers from. I don't know.
No, it's okay.
I can't remember it.
It's okay. I can't remember either, and I've seen all of them like 100 times. I'm just trying to. Sorry, I don't know.
No, it's all good. I couldn't explain it well enough anyway. But it had a plot where, you know, like the world was literally like falling apart, and this you know, supervillain could like take parts and just lift up whole parts of the earth. And it's like, at what point do you say like, all right, now like that's pushing it? I mean, I read comics too. You know, X-Men would do the same shit because like, you know, Phoenix would come out of Gray. What's her name?
Jean
Grey, yeah. Wasn't it Phoenix that would come out of her?
She is Phoenix.
Yeah, she's Phoenix. Yeah. And she would get crazy powerful.
She's the most powerful mutant, you know. That's her thing.
Yep. And like move the sun and shit like that. And I was like, some of the comics I was just like, holy shit. Like, at what point do we say this? Like,
it all started
changing all reality.
There's an issue of Superman. It might have been in the 40s or 50s, but Superman, Lois Lane dies, so he flies around the earth as fast as he can and reverses time and brings her back and saves her. Yeah. So it's like ever since then they've gone off crazy.
Yeah, what's outside of the realm of possibility?
Yeah. They're like, I don't know if you've seen Batman vs Superman, but there's the character Doomsday.
I can't get into it, man.
I love anything with Batman. It's like I drool over. So
I don't know. I don't know if I didn't like Luther or what. But
not a lot of people like that movie. But
no, it wasn't my favorite of superhero movies. I'm excited for Deadpool 2. Personally,
yeah.
I think it'll be a good one. Yeah. I like how Ryan Reynolds, how he does that character. He's funny dude in general. I can tell like he makes the character kind of who it is, and he must have read a lot of his Deadpool's funny. Funny comic.
He refused to do it unless it was rated. And
it had to be.
They were trying to do it in 2000.
Read the comic too. It's like the comics are like raunchy and shit.
Oh yeah. There was he also knows about it. Like he knows he's in a comic, isn't that?
Yeah, he breaks the fourth wall. Like,
he'll look right into the camera or like right into he rated R, and it took like 6 years for them to negotiate because it's a Disney movie.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Disney has vowed they'd never make a rated R movie in their existence. They've been almost around 100. It's almost 100 years.
Right.
I think it might be over 100. But
that was their first rated R movie, huh? Deadpool.
Yeah, because Disney owns Marvel.
I feel like they've been so close, you know, like Pirates of the Caribbean was getting to the point where like those action sequences and shit were getting pretty gory. And
really?
Like, I haven't seen the new one. It was getting like
graphic.
Yeah, to that system work for ratings either. I know we had taken film studies back then.
Intro to film studies. We didn't know shit. Yeah. I mean, like maybe you did, but I certainly didn't.
No, it was interesting learning a lot of that shit, though. Getting cultured.
Yeah. It was like our first exposure to like people like didn't really give a shit if you learn this or not. You either learn it or fuck off.
Right.
It's like it wasn't like in high school where they would like, you know, sit down, but it was like, okay, you know, Mr. Romz, are you sure you're getting this? It's like they didn't give a fuck in college. They were like, get out.
Yeah,
class is over. I gotta go home.
You learn it or you fail. So see you later. I get paid either way. You know. You know, teachers in high school, they need to have their students passing the shit. So it's like, how much do they like?
Back in the 70s, when my dad's ex-wife was going to college, and he said that she would tell him, "I never met my professor." What the hell are you talking about, sweetie? My professor hired subs the whole year, and he just sat on his ass at his home because he was so loaded. He could afford to pay the subs to come in for him, and he would still collect enough money to support himself.
Damn.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's old school 70s Marion too.
Yeah,
and the money was that big then.
That shit happened in Milwaukee too. You know,
I believe
classes of like 300 students, and I felt like so much of the time, like for example, my intro to accounting class, like the professor was an absolute would just I don't even remember his name anymore, but it's just like he'd talk about like his Corvette and like all the shit he'd do and how fucking wealthy he was and all this shit. And I was just like, dude, don't, this objective isn't to try to sell this to us. Like if somebody wants to be in accounting, they will tell me. You know? And like for me, I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I need to take this class for my major. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Were you in one of those?
I would literally sit in the back of class with my computer and like fucking listen to he called me out one time. He's like, you watching porn back then? And I was like, no, I'm just listening to music. 300 student class too. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, don't call me out like that. I just won't come to class. Like, I'm not learning anything by you boosting your own ego in front of all these kids. Like, dude, fuck off.
Give a fuck. One of those giant lecture halls where you're like a stadium seating and stuff.
Yeah, it's all like raised and shit.
God, just like in the movies. I never believed those were real. I mean, I've never been to it. I went to UW Fondy for a semester. I hated it. I went back to the tech.
Yeah, they're not what they're made out to be. I mean, I think, some of my most interesting professors were at UW Fondy.
Yeah.
Did you ever take philosophy or anything when you were there?
No philosophy.
Okay. Eric Boo is one of the best professors I had in all of college, and it's like I learned so much and so many eye-opening, like understanding. Like I don't know, he never made it clear whether he was Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or what. He would always entertain every idea and come with it from a logical perspective.
That's true philosophy.
Yeah, how to have an argument around it and what makes sense and what doesn't. All the paradoxes of God and all that shit.
He had zero. He had zero bias. He never leaned in one direction. You said.
Yep. Yeah, and
true philosophy.
Yeah, he had won like professor award so many times, and then they're thinking about firing him for whatever reason.
I just want to say we're at 250. So if you want to play,
I'll just leave it. If people want to check it out on my artist page and whatnot, it's obviously linked in.
Oh, you don't want to play anything? I was looking.
I can't. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't want anything to get taken down because of copyright issues.
Absolutely. So, hey, absolutely.
I'll play some shit for you after too, but all rights are reserved. If I do play anything, I don't want I've had shit kind of flagged before, and 2 hours of content.
I didn't even think of that. I really didn't even think of that. So,
and I mean, you can get by it
for being.
Yeah, you can get by it, and people oftentimes Facebook's like I made that mix not too long ago. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. And I had shared it on my personal profiles because I had a bigger reach with that. And really cool. I felt really good about it. Ownership of these tracks, can you use them? And there were like 2 tracks that I would have assumed, I had other tracks that I assumed would have been tagged before that, bigger name producers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are these people the ones that are like,
we don't have any money anymore.
Yeah. They're like, how can we see you? It's like, what the fuck?
Oh man.
I mean, it's all part of the art too, but yeah, I just want to make sure that.
And if you don't wanna perform, it's totally fine. I will not push you to do that.
I could do. Trying to think of what would be good. Like here's a dope one that so Zed's Dead remixes. I don't know if you heard of Zed's Dead.
Zed's Dead, baby.
Yeah, the guy from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I know. The second I saw them, I'm like, that's a Pulp Fiction reference.
There are 2 dudes. I'd love to meet them.
There's 2 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's always interesting when there's a duo, and I honestly thought about that. I was like, do I want to work with somebody else on this artist project? And, maybe I will. I'm down to collab with whoever.
Yeah, you're entertaining the thought.
Yeah, but it'd probably be more of a collab versus like an actual identity.
Sure.
Somebody else. It'd be Romz with so and so.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when there's duos because usually one person's really good at one element of it, similar to how we were talking about. Like there's a nerdier person or somebody who's really good with the technical side of things, and that person who's more of an entertainer and gets
the soft skills. Yep.
Yeah. So I think there's a good balance there in some duos. I try to encompass those in myself and work on each individual part myself too a lot.
Yeah. That's what I really liked about my previous co-host. I had a co-host with me. He really started this and took it from him. He said, I want you to keep going because you have more of a passion for it than he did. Focus on work. So I really God damn it. I've never lost my train of thought this much in one thing.
Sorry, I'm just looking through.
No,
some
you
stuff
go
and
ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
thinking of what would be a good one to play.
Um, but like I was saying, I would love to have a co-host. Like, however, I have found that if I had someone here to bounce, like, just screw around with and bounce ideas off, like he was sitting here, I would probably, sadly, being honest, I'd probably focus more on him and just be funny, and then
Right.
like having you in the wings, like just kind of art things with your collaborative buddy,
Yep.
like, and you get comfortable, you start bouncing shit off each other, and you start thinking each other, and you're like, and you maybe you play something, and then your buddy looks at you, goes, "That's cool."
Yeah.
But listen to this, and he try, and then like, how about this? And like, I bring them up almost every podcast, but the Eagles are one of my favorite bands.
I love
and the
Eagles,
guitarist at the time, there's Joe Walsh, and there was what's his fucking name? I can't remember it. But he got Don Felder.
Mhm.
They were both just gods, rock and roll. They were all over the neck and could shred and play amazingly technically.
Mhm.
And they would bounce off each other live, and then that sometimes would make it into the album. The ending of Hotel California was improvised, and it's like da na 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 na, and it's like a little duel. It's like, could you imagine what you could do if you were put into a position like that?
Yeah, and it goes into what I was saying with like the automation of things. It'll you new doors and other things to work on. And I'm sure if I had another set of hands or somebody that had a similar mindset and taste in music as me, even last weekend I had a buddy over, and he was actually one of the first friends of mine that and he'd DJ at parties in Madison, and I'd just go along with. When I was living in Fond du Lac, I could one day go over to Madison, and he'd DJ at frat parties, so I'd go along with as like one of the dudes then, because I was with DJ. But anyway, he had came through, and he was messing with my mixer a little bit and playing a little bit together, and I was like moving the whole thing, and he had put a loop on, which is like basically it'll be a 2-bar or 2-beat measure or whatever, and he had looped it while I was changing the tempo, and I was like, that's fucking cool. I've never done that. It works, and he's like, oh, that's how I always used to do it. And I was like, it's another note in my notebook of like, oh, that's a way to do it. They can show I'm sure I could learn so much from DJing with somebody else. I think there's so much of an knowing it yourself to find your own like style to it, because there's so many different styles of DJing. Also an element of collabing and working with others too, which is way more prevalent up production side of things and producing your own music. So that's what I'm excited for, is diving deep into just producing a lot of content. If I want to challenge, I don't know what month, like I'm still working on getting the program itself, then writing a track every single day. And whether that's a 30-second track or a 3-minute track, but every single day writing a track and having just the basic core elements. You have your drum beat, your bass line, your melody, any synths or pad with that, and then some catchy phrase in the beginning and your drop. And whether that's the same drop for the second drop or whatever it might be, just creating is definitely going to be a goal of mine in one of the upcoming months. And that's just to create a lot of content at one time. Even if I only songs out of it, that's 3 good songs in a month, and that's a solid month for me, especially as the production. But working with others, it's definitely something I plan on doing more of as I get into this.
I think that'd be really neat.
Yeah,
like I have a feeling like it would unlock a lot more of just possibilities that you wouldn't get, potential and possibilities that you wouldn't get alone. Maybe there's certain things that you can only learn, or it's like an express lane to learning something you wouldn't have learned unless you were by yourself. Maybe a couple weeks or months down the line, or it's like, oh, you're doing stuff. Let me show you, and then they show you a new technique, and you're like, oh, I've been like you said, that guy's been doing that this whole time, and you just didn't know about it.
Right.
I didn't even know how to set this fucking thing up when I got it. He gave it to me in November, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And then all month goes by, click, 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 click. Right. And then, okay, you do this, this, this. And then I had another friend of mine over, my buddy Brian, who was with me last night, and he goes, oh, you're doing it like this? Well, it sounds way better if you do it like this. I'm just like, God, there's multiple sources of information. I'm like, why didn't I do that from the beginning?
Right.
So it's like it's so cool, like to see like these facets of love unlock by face to face, being face to face with other people. It's just like fucking hang out with somebody,
Right.
do something with somebody, create something with somebody, and that's just what the podcast is about. Like just put yourself, go for Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
Go next time your friend asks you to hang out. Don't be an introvert. Sorry, but don't overcome that and say, I'm not going to sit in my room and look at Tumblr.
Right.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to fucking sit in public and look at my friend in the eye and say, what are you doing with your life? And I'm going to and then I'm going to reply.
Right.
And then we lost so much of that.
Do something new, it's like everybody doing something new and new experience. And, even just doing something new I think doing the same shit every day and you're going to have the same results all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be interesting either. It's like you're going to be stuck in that one place forever.
Yeah. I think a lot of our generation is like, it's going to sound kind of controversial, but this is why I have a podcast.
That's why it's your show.
It's my goddamn show. Fight me. You know where I live.
I do.
He does now. I think a lot of our generation is depressed necessarily.
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just think if people was just take a little bit of time, don't push yourself, nudge yourself into something new. It's like, I myself have wanted to take a mark for like a year now. And then I finally some guy was like, do you want to do jujitsu? I'm like, no, oh my God, that's scary. And it's like, I had it shown to me, okay, it looks really scary.
Right.
But I think about it every day. You know what's the worst could happen? I get my ass beat. Some guy laugh at me and they're like, we want you to come back the next day. Come on. We'll show you what to do next. Shit.
Right.
And it's like, it's so scary, but like every little day I'm getting nudged a little bit. Like pushing yourself into something like plunging is one way of doing it. Like the bird out of the nest, learning to fly on the way down. That's one thing, but like, that's a high expectation of somebody. Nudge yourself to something new. Nudge yourself to like an aerobics class, or nudge yourself towards like an art thing. Learn something that you've never done. You'd be shocked at what that does for your self-esteem.
Right.
You're gonna suck. You're supposed to suck.
And even to the producer consumer mindset, it's something I've been thinking a lot about. And it's like a lot of depression comes from people that just consume. Of why we're here is to produce something. If you have something that's left behind after you die, outside of just children, like whatever, that's some people's legacy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like there's an element of what you produce yourself, like what type of art or what type of, reaction or what type of environment. There's all different types of things that you can produce, right?
Cooking.
Right, cooking.
Yeah. That's like, there's so many little things that and they don't realize that that's an art.
Yeah, and if you push yourself on those things and you learn more about it, very good for people. And I think there's definitely a lot of unnecessary depression in people, and that's because they're doing the same thing every day and expecting different results. And it's like, okay, well, you're not changing anything up. You're gonna see the same thing.
Or you don't. I think a lot of it is also you don't think that there's a way to get better. Like you just accept that, well, I'm sad and I don't like my job and this is how it's going to be. And it's like responsibility.
But society
go out and do it.
Society teaches people that, they want to put people in that box and call it whatever you want.
You're right, but you should also have the ability to free think and tell yourself, I don't have to like Fight Club. Yeah. You work jobs, you hate that movie. Yeah. And I love it. And it's like, that mindset is incredibly prevalent, but you don't have to follow that. No. Capitalism is I think every single product should exist.
Okay.
That there's a cheaper version of that and there's a more expensive version of that.
Right.
But you didn't fall for buying the expensive version because you don't need that right now.
Right.
You bought what you needed. You didn't fall for an advertising campaign that shoved that shit in your face. But it should still exist. That shit should still be shoved in your face because that's how you learn how
crazy like adware and how they're becoming, because it's like I'm researching and looking at newer, you know, mixer. One is a 2-channel mixer that can do 4 but not very well, and so as I'm taking a look at these different options, it's like now in, you know, whether I'm on Google or on Facebook, even like all these ads come up for, you know, mixers and whatnot. It's like I'm constantly doing research, and you know, this time around, obviously have way more experience in what I'm looking for, because I didn't even know what I wanted at the time. You know, I'd ask a couple of DJ buddies of mine, you know, do you think this is a good mixer? And they're like, yeah, it should be good for you. And it's like, it's been good for me for 2 years, but now it's like I've outgrown it. But that goes for anything, you know, like I used to ride motorcycles and I had a shitty one for a while, and then like I got a nice one because I liked it and it's what I enjoyed, and you know, got a better one and had more fun with it. But yeah, that goes for everything. You know, you figure out what it is that you're good at and what you can work on, and you know, everything. Like, this is a tool, this is an instrument for me to use in, you know, creating an experience and whatnot. And you know, you can use whatever, and I think the internet, and we see that with people, you know, people, you know, drinking lean or fucking eating Tide Pods or like doing all the stupid shit people are doing nowadays. It's like, what the fuck?
Shit,
like,
I was gonna bring that up.
We're taking stuff backwards. You know, people thinking the Earth is flat. Like, I don't know. I could go for hours on that.
Prove it's round, Jake.
Yeah,
proved.
I've been in a plane. I've seen it around.
You don't. That could have been your vision fucking up.
Yeah, no shit. Like, actually, I have a quote. I want to see if I can pull it up quick on that.
I like that though. Ignorance is a choice.
Yeah, this is by Isaac Asimov. I don't know who that is. Asimov? Yeah, I don't. Do you know who that is?
I've heard of the name.
Okay, yeah. United States, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life. Nurtured by the false notion that democracy is just as good as your knowledge.
Wow.
But that's so fucking real in our society.
Well, yeah.
You know, like,
and how many years ago was that said?
I'm not sure if it says what year it is. 1980.
Does seem more like the 50s, but it still holds true.
Yeah, for sure.
That's still 100%.
And I think so much, you know, with ignorance being a choice, is people think that and having, you know, this false sense of entitlement. You know, people feel like they're entitled to X, Y, and Z.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, even to, it's like, how many genders do we have? That's the stupidest question ever. Science says we have 2 genders. Like, don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
Like, once we start breaking down lines and barriers, that like, why are we going there, and why is that a thing? And I don't want to get too much into like what viewpoints and shit like that, but I was just getting at the idea that people just feel entitled to make a big deal out of nothing or do stupid shit to do stupid shit. And it's like, everybody has their own little steps backwards in intelligence, which sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think has a lot to do with technology.
Yeah.
But I think to the positive side of technology, we kind of hit on, I don't want to go too much longer, but we kind of hit on the negative sides, or like the Terminator effect. It's like, what about the positive sides? What about that I could, you know, plug this chip into my computer, plug it into my brain, and I know how to speak a different language. That is coming. That'd be fucking cool. I got a positive side really quick before we cut it out. Mm-hmm. Have you seen those sex dolls? No. Come on. Crazy ones? Shut the hell up. I mean, she's not here. Just be real with me. Not something that I'm out researching very much all the time. Right. I've seen some of these really fucking funny videos where a guy will be like talking about it. And there's one in particular where he says, my man was talking about getting a sex doll the other day, and yes, I had to roast him. How hard could it be to just pull women? And then I saw the dolls, and man, it's like, and then he started listing off all the positives of like
all of like the huge advantages of like having one. Advantage to real women. Anything, and he goes, and then they like him.
But I do think that there will be a lot of positive advantage. I mean, even Siri, 10 years ago, would you have thought you would have been asked on your phone, like,
yeah,
hey, who said this? Or shit. It's like, that's really cool. That's a cool feature to have. Or
it's gotten better within like the last 3 years,
like,
too.
Especially for me, like
when she wouldn't even get your voice.
Yeah, have you ever used Shazam? So, like, as a DJ, I'm always like for new music,
or a sound hound or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different apps for it, but I can sit. As long as they're playing it in a similar key or similar tempo that it really is at, like, it's pretty good at catching up songs. And it's like, so if I'm out at a show wherever, it's like, that's a really dope ass track. DJs do all the time. It's just like trade each other's shit.
They share.
Yeah, they share. It's a really cool community too, in that perspective.
Well, it's 3:10. You got any closing remarks? Because I know you got to get going here.
No.
Any shout outs to anybody you want to give, or if you want to promote anything? Like, I like to have people on here that like are a project or something creative going on, and at the end of it, I like to say, okay, like, here's your chance. Shout out something, say something that you want people to look at, and like get your numbers up or something. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's up to you.
Shout out to Josh Rady for throwing the show last night. Is obviously super successful. Kedzie and Wolfbiter, good dudes and good mind. They played awesome sets, and obviously for Will, our friend, and shout out to him. And if people want to check out my artist page, it's Romz. It's tagged right there in the top, and they want to go to my Instagram or whatever, they can check that out. Facebook page. But I don't want to like selfishly promote myself too much. I mean, that's what we're all here about. So they can, I'll Porsche if they want to send me a Porsche.
I don't know if
I'll get sponsored by whoever.
I don't know if Porsche is watching now.
Right. If Porsche is watching this, about car, and I will talk it up. But no, I don't have a huge shout outs to the people who are loyal fans and watching, joining me on this journey that I'm on.
Awesome, man.
Thanks again for having me, dude.
Okay.
Definitely appreciate the opportunity.
Oh yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on. Trying to think of anything I want to promote.
I could do like a little live thing. I think start another one so that in case it does get flagged, it could get taken down and it doesn't matter. Because if we want and stop it, then this will be a different file. It's up to you.
I understand. I'm gonna go ahead and say no because I would rather it all be in one.
Okay.
But the tagging thing has got me kind of paranoid, and I'd rather not have a
me too.
Rather not have a red mark on that.
Yeah, no shit.
So they know where to find all your music then? You said that earlier?
Yeah, and actually it's pretty cool. I was kind of playlist and whatnot on SoundCloud. It's just you can search Romz on SoundCloud. And me.
ROMZ.
Yep, and then I have a mix. I put my mixes up because they're way lenient on their copyright shit. So that shit flagged or tagged or taken down. But yeah, on my SoundCloud, I've been working on a lot of different playlists. I've just now made all of those public so people can go to those playlists. And, I think I'm pretty good at organizing music. So if people hear different styles of music and stuff that I'm, either working with or thinking about working on the different playlists that I have there. So
awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who liked the page and is following me and just putting up with me and my I hope that you go out today or tomorrow, whatever, and just talk to somebody face to face and don't be afraid of your feelings and just get it out there because that's what life is all about. So
hell yeah.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
See you later.
Peace.